Next fight up, we've got a middleweight fight between Jacob Malkoun. Malkoun? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Phil Hawes, who is 8-2. Jacob is 4-0 undefeated, making his UFC debut. I looked into this guy because there's not a lot to know about him, and he's a 3-0 boxer. He's got a very intelligent jab, good range control, nice head movement. He works the leg kicks. He's very, very slow and measured. And the big thing you need to know is he's Whitaker's boy. He's a training partner of Robert Whitaker, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, and this is a spot where he's just getting on the card with his buddy, his training partner, the guy he's been in camp with this entire time. You may recognize Phil Hawes. He's a 2 times Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series fighter. He trains with Cowboy, not the Cowboy on this card, the other Cowboy, and Cerrone, and he's just got huge, huge power. This guy is one of those brick shithouse Adonis type of fighters where you wonder how they can possibly pack that amount of muscle onto a human being. He's got strong body lock takedowns, a heavy top game, nasty, nasty ground and pound. The only thing, my issue really with Hawes is that his gas tank is completely suspect. If he doesn't kill you in that first round, sometimes he's got nothing left for round 2. I don't know if that's enough to put me on the dog here with Jacob, though. Talk to me, Matt. What are you looking on this one?
Look, you just said everything I know about Volkman is that he was the training partner of Robert Whitaker. Other than that, and this is hard for, all of us that watch these fights so intently, rarely do we find a guy that you've never heard of or never seen. I've never seen this guy. I literally have no idea anything about him other than he trains with Robert Whitaker over there in Australia. And on the other side, we have a guy in Phil Hawes who, if you remember right, this guy was supposed to be a big-time prospect. Because of the way his body looks and his athleticism, people said, man, this guy, he's a little raw, but he might do some amazing stuff in the UFC. And we saw, again, the UFC debut, although it's Dana White Contender Series, I think it was 3 years ago, right? It was like 2017 when he fought. I think he fought in that inaugural season of Dana White Contender Series, and he looked pretty good against Julian Marquez. Faded, the gas tank kind of gave out on him, and then Marquez hit him with that big head kick. And it was one of the highlights of that season, the Julian Marquez head kick knockout of Phil Hawes, who, by the way, was favored in that fight, had to work his way back, get several wins, had a really impressive performance of his own on Dana White Contender Series, 5 weeks ago now? Maybe 6 weeks ago? It was in September, and now here he is, finally in his first true UFC, not Dana White Contender Series fight. He's taller, he's longer. His gas tank may run out, but we know he has the athleticism advantage. He's probably going to be faster, at least earlier. I just can't jump on the dog here, mostly because I don't know anything about him. I like Phil Hawes. He seems like a great guy. Everyone likes training with him. He looks like a career athlete, someone who is at least trained to be in athletics his whole life. I think his ceiling's a little bit low. I don't think he's ever going to contend for titles or anything because his all-around game is still a little bit limited. But I don't know how Phil Hawes loses this fight.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I just can't trust this kid. There's nothing out there to put me on this guy, and you literally would have to be throwing a dart saying, well, he trains with Robert Whitaker, and we know Whitaker is a beast, but he's got to be near that level to be able to hang with him on a daily basis. That's not good enough for me to throw a plus 220 dart. But I can't trust Phil Hawes with my money because of that damn gas tank. If this guy is a cardio machine, he could finish this thing late when Phil Hawes gasses out after having an amazing start. This is a complete pass for me because both guys are untrustworthy, and I have no clue how this fight is going to play out.
I'm with you. I can't trust. I like Phil Hawes in the underdog role, not so much as a big giant favorite, because we all remember he was a big giant favorite over Julian Marquez and got knocked the bleep out with that late head kick when he lost his focus and his gas tank run out. But I literally don't know anything about the opponent, and thus really at that point you're just taking a flyer on what you might think you know. I'm sure there might be some people that know better than I about Jacob here, but I don't, so I'm passing with you.
Yeah, you probably got to be living in Australia or New Zealand if you know anything about Jacob.
What a rarity for a guy of his caliber who's fought such limited competition and only 4 pro fights to be on the biggest pay-per-view card of the year. really surprising move by Dana White here. And it shows you that Robert Whitaker might have just called in that big favor.
There's two angles where that makes sense to me. Either they want to make Phil Hawes look good. He's the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series guy. They're setting him up with a layup coming into the UFC, and they get Rob off their back trying to get his boy in the cage. Or somebody knows something. And even at 4-0, this kid is legit. Those are the only two ways that it makes sense to me, and I have no idea which one it is. So I can't wait to find out. This is a big spectator spot for me. Like I said, it's definitely a pass, but I will be watching very intently because I'm curious which way it's going to go.
I'm with you.